Hello and welcome to the How Long to Beat podcast. As always, I am Rick, not as always. Nice new mic, and I ate some yakisoba today. A little bit underwhelming. I'm joined by Alex.
Hey.
And Paula.
Hey there.
And as always, we're going to talk about the games we've beaten, including one very exciting one for me. The games I have retired, the games we're playing. This week, our topic is going to be characters and character arcs. And then we're going to arc into the game that we all like to play and refer to as How Long to Beat The Game.
The game.
This trust is going to take some time to rebuild.
I tried, but then I was like,
We're
Paula was a little late, so maybe I should stop a little. And then it's all over.
I don't know if I can communicate verbally, just the fear in both of your eyes as I lead up to that section. Just like, what's he going to do this time?
I took my dog for a walk and she just let out the worst fart on the planet. Sorry, I can't. Oh.
That's staying in. That's staying in.
She's looking at me like, what? Oh my god. All right,
dear.
sorry. Let's talk games we've beaten.
Let's talk Neon White first of all.
Yes.
I think that's been like the fixture of our week. It's one I've completed. I'm sure we'll come back to it again because Alex is playing it. This game's phenomenal. It's
so good.
one of the best games I've ever played. By far the best game I've played this year.
Yeah.
And it's up there with some of the best games I've ever played. It just does everything with such confidence and style. Length is perfect. Story, which initially I thought was a weak element, and I'm sure that's been your impression so far, Alex, actually goes some really interesting places.
Cool.
Actually deals with some interesting themes. I think it justifies its use of the tropes because there's, without spoiling too much, a degree of subversion, but it's also shorthand that allows it to tell its story a little bit quicker with a little bit less sort of setup needed, which is important because the setting's quite out there already. Like you are a demon brought to heaven to deal. No,
well, you're
a spirit brought from hell to heaven to deal with their demon problem.
Yes.
In a speedrunny, parkoury, first-person shootery, puzzle platformy way. The gameplay is so solid. It's so spot on. It's been tuned to a sharp point. Levels are like 60 seconds long, but you can spend half an hour on every level just perfecting the time, as we have been doing since Alex started playing it. We are the only people on each other's friend list who own this game. And as such, when Alex started playing it, mine was the only time he could see. So I got a message saying, "Oh, yeah, Rick, by the way, I've beaten the times for your first 10 levels." And then Alex got a message back saying, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I've beaten those times again, checkmate." And then Paula sent a message saying, "I've got my popcorn, keep going."
And now
it's a whole different... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, you've come back on a couple of them, because basically I've just been going through trying to get... There is one time, though, that I'll be impressed if you can beat it, because I lowered your time by over 10 seconds. And that's the one that I got a red on. Yeah, that's in mission 3. And I lowered it by over 10 seconds, and I got a red medal on it. And that one, though, I will tell you, it took me a long time, and I figured something out as I was playing, because I did a lot of recon. And so if you figure it out, it took so hard. I'll cry if you get that one.
But I mean, this is what's beautiful about the experience. Like, I had a totally different experience playing it, just having the target times to beat, versus now almost coming back to it a second time with this competitive edge to it. And it's not just I'm beating the clock, it's I'm beating Alex as well. I think it's phenomenal in both modes of play. With the target times, there's still lots to do. And it's commendable. You won't have seen this, Alex, because you're only on mission 5. But even like in the penultimate set of missions, they introduce new mechanics. The game, it does that incredible thing that games like It Takes Two, some of the best of Nintendo do, where they're constantly bringing new ideas to the table and they know how long to use them without outstaying their welcome. I can't recommend this game highly enough. It's just phenomenal. I had so much fun playing with it. It was a little bit bittersweet finishing it, but now that I know someone's going to be beating my times, I'm absolutely going to come back in a couple of weeks and just play the mission content through again. Worth shouting out as well. Obviously, this is a little bit tangential to what we've been doing, but the actual gift thing, gives it another mode of play altogether, because then the time doesn't matter. It's almost a puzzle solving thing of not even using the weapons and the traversal mechanics the same way. Sometimes you have to intentionally do something a suboptimal way to save a weapon so that you have a movement option later on to take you to the present thing. And I thought that was such a cool inversion on it. If I were picking minor nits, I do again think that shouldn't have had as much of a story implication as it did in terms of the gameplay loop. But I was happy enough finding every single one, so it doesn't really make a difference in that context.
Well, because the side quests that you get are fucking dope. I love them. They're like, they're just puzzle levels.
Oh, that reminds me. I saw you got the Idiot Island achievement. How funny was that?
That was amazing. I loved that achievement. I was like, when I hit it, I went, oh my God, that's great.
I saw the achievement and then I saw the sun. I was like, oh. So good. You have to play this game unless you're going to get motion sick, in which case you should probably still play this game, but in very short bursts. And again, I think this is one of the ways that it's beautiful. I know we said, Paula, you will melt if you try and play this game. But on reflection, like the levels are 60 seconds in length. Like it's going to be really awkward to play, but there's nothing stopping you like playing for 5 minutes and then going away and coming back. And I also think you'd really get a kick out of the story segments in the middle. I feel like they're very much your wheelhouse. There's something for everyone. Play this game.
You know what it reminds me of weirdly? Like not in content really at all, but in vibes. It kind of reminds me of The World Ends With You a little bit. Like it has this kind of, like it feels inspired a bit by that.
Yes. Yeah, it's got that same kind of cool in an effortless way. The same kind of modern setting with quite stylized art.
No emphasis really on fashion.
The story's completely different. The mechanics are barely anywhere near. Well, I mean, the funny thing is, like, the devs have talked about like intentionally just throwing way too many belts at the characters, and that's such a Nomura touch. So it absolutely tracks,
right? Yeah, that's what it's like. Again, it's like when I talk about it, I'm like, yeah, nothing about them really is similar, but like it's just I don't know. It's just vibes wise and like aesthetic wise, it just they feel kind of kindred.
Absolutely.
And also Paradise Killer for me too, like in terms of the levels. Because that kind of 2D on a 3D plane, but like sort of polygonal, very like almost vaporwavy kind of look to everything makes me feel really like I'm like I love this aesthetic a lot, and it's super clean. And and I have the ambient occlusion on or whatever, and it looks really nice. Like because I turned it off to see what it does, and I was like, oh my God, the reflections look so much better with this thing on it, which doesn't really matter because you're flying through the fucking levels, so you're barely seeing anything, but. It's good shit.
The clean textures are good for parkour as well because it makes everything very visually easy to pass.
Yeah.
There are levels that I, towards the end, was killing it on first time. And a lot of that is just the instant readability of the landscape around you. Most of the walls, even in the varied landscapes that it gives you through the game, are pale or white or a specific sort of monotone color. The enemies are always very dark. The weapon cards that you pick up are always bright block colors. There's a really strong sort of visual cohesion to everything, both in terms of style and in terms of gameplay. Music slaps as well.
Yeah.
I think my personal standout, I don't think you've quite got there. I think it's in the Hanging Gardens. There's a song and it's got like a marimba beat through it, but also a techno beat underneath. And then just like random voice samples like, you were dealt a bad hand. And just like, it worked. And again, very World Ends With You in the sense that the music is quite unique in its input, but also very modern and multifaceted in the different things that it draws on and pulls in. I could go on about this game for a whole podcast about how much I love it. And I know that you'll feel the same when you finish it, Alex, more so than you even do at the moment. And we'll absolutely talk more about it on the playing when we get there. I have also beat one other game. A lot less excited about this one. And this was Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. I liked it, but, and this is the tricky thing, it wears its arcade roots on its sleeve. It's very, very unashamedly of the late 80s, early 90s time that it was like released in arcade. And that makes sense because the core team, I think it's Project Tango, that they're called, is the same core team that made the original Pocky and Rocky way back when. So it mechanically sticks very much to that formula. You have 8-way directional input, 4 face button actions, and you shoot in the direction you aim, you're moving, with one exception. But the game is built around that. It's actually not too horribly bad. So, to draw a comparison to a recent game that I retired, which was Creature in the Well, that game expected you to be really, really precise with aiming for time-based challenges. There is no such time element practically in this game. And it's also a lot more forgiving in terms of hitboxes and in terms of how you can hit things. There's not so much of a precision requirement. It is a lot of fun. It is also very short. And there are some levels that feel like much more care and attention has been given than others. It's also worth highlighting a couple of other things. In opposition to a couple of the other sort of revivals that this team has done, so specifically Wild Guns Reloaded and Ninja Warriors, the game actually departs quite a lot from the original. It starts off very similarly, but it is very much a spiritual sequel. There's like a weird time travel plot thing, but they introduce new levels and new characters and various different things. Also worth noting, you can't play co-op until you've beaten the campaign in solo, which I think is a really dumb move. Didn't affect me. Really dumb. Really, really dumb. And you also have to unlock easy mode, which again, what sense does that make? None. It makes no sense. It's nonsense.
If you need easy mode, you can't
unlock easy mode. Yes, yeah. Exactly. I beat it in about 2 hours. I liked it. I think if you know what you're getting into and you're about that, it's an easy recommend because, in terms of construction and execution, beautifully put together. The pixel art is fucking gorgeous. The soundtrack, a little bit forgettable, but good. The levels generally strong, lots of variety. Checkpointing's not amazing, but the levels are short enough that it's never a problem, in my view. It's never more than mildly frustrating. I think my main sort of disappointment is I did get this game physically, and I think there's probably a degree of value to that physical copy down the line. But I think £30 for a 2-hour arcadey experience is probably not the one, really. Not for this arcadey experience, anyway. Overall, big fan. Did like it. Cautious recommendation with caveats is probably where I fall on that. Is this a game either of you plan to play? Was it on any of your radars, or?
No.
I'm dancing around buying a PC arcade stick, like an 8BitDo one, like one of the ones that aren't too, because I have this urge to play older arcade games with an actual arcade stick. Like I've done it before and I really like it. So maybe I will, but I'm not sure yet. I'm kind of waiting. I'm probably gonna wait for a sale or something, and then come along and then go in and hit that up. But yeah, I might end up doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get something powerful enough to run Yuzu, I feel like an arcade stick would be a really cool way to play this.
Yeah.
It's at full price. It's a really hard recommend.
Yeah,
it's still worth all. Yeah. So Paula, we've got no completions for you this week. Am I right?
And none at all.
Yeah.
Okay. In which case, that's fair. That's totally fair. In which case, let's jump to you, Alex. What have you completed this week?
Yeah, I completed a couple things actually. Some big ones. Well, actually, one big one and then ones that are not so big. I beat Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, the game of the month this month. This was very fun. I had an absolute blast with this one. The boss at the end is a
meme city. I've seen that. Yes, I've seen that cutscene.
Okay, because they use the technically the original definitional use of the word meme. So it's the actual word meme, but of course it's hilarious when you're listening to it, right? And he's like this super American. Oh god, I don't want to spoil too much with this end here thing, but let's just say that there's a senator in this game who's American, and this game goes hard with the America stuff at the end, and it actually feels more legitimate now than I think it would have felt in 2013
at the time,
right? Yeah, because this would have been during Obama's presidency, right? So at that time, yeah, there's the kind of like, because there's literally the line "Make America Great Again" in one of this guy's speeches. Yeah, straight up. Because remember, this is actually a line from like the 80s. It's an old line. But yeah, exactly. But anyway, if you want to learn the history of it, Reagan and all that, whatever. It's been a long thing, but it was like re-brought up obviously in 2016. So to hear someone saying it at that point, it's a little surreal. Like you're like, okay, this is kind of obviously absurd, but actually, talking about the military industrial complex, which is a favorite thing of Kojima's to do in the Metal Gear games. But it's obviously an absurd battle. Like it's just nuts. I will say, chapter like 5, 6, 7, 8, I think, you really can tell. Or is it just 7 chapters? I can't remember now. Anyway, the last couple chapters, you really can fucking tell that this went through some development stuff, because it's like one chapter is a boss battle, and then the next one is you're back in that city you were already in, so just go fight your way through it again. And then it's like, and here's the boss. You're like, all right. So I was like,
Pocky and Rocky was kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm like, I think you guys hit this point. You're like, we're gonna get this fucking game out at this time because it's a partnership and they need the fucking game to ship. So
yeah,
you're gonna go back through the same area. We don't have time to make new assets. I'm like, okay, still really fun. It was still enjoyable, but you're like, there was a producer who was like, just fucking use the city again. You know what I mean? Like that's what I feel like was happening there. Like they're just like, no, you can't make a whole desert level. You're just do a boss fight here. Go back to the fucking city. You're done. All right. I'm like, okay. So, it's like, it was fine. I didn't really do any of the VR missions. I thought about doing them, but then I was like, they're all just kind of like kill these enemies things, which I was like, I'm good with. I do highly recommend playing it because, like I said, it's not a long game at all. And ultimately, it's quite fun and it's a unique mechanics. It's sad that I do not think we will ever see a sequel to this game. I mean, fucking, besides the fact that Metal Gear is like gone, right? Because of the whole fucking...
Ironically, it didn't survive.
Yeah, there you go. That was the last one that put it in the ground. Though they are like relisting a bunch of Metal Gear games for the 35th anniversary. I guess. Yeah. Konami's putting them back on. But first off, this was a partnership between Platinum and Konami, right? So like it was already kind of unique. And I think Paula recommended the What Happened, or was it you, Rick, who recommended the What Happened?
That was me. Yeah, the Matt McMuster's video. Yeah,
I watched that and it was really interesting and really good. And the fact that the game is as good as it is with the kind of tempestuous development cycle that it had is incredible.
Kind of miracle. Yeah.
Right? It reminds me of Phoenix Wright and Professor Layton a little bit in the sense that it's like, this is an ambitious thing and it just worked and it's actually phenomenal and worth playing today. So if you have it in a backlog somewhere, pop it in there, give it a go because it's fun. I also beat, speaking of Phoenix Wright, I beat Ace Attorney's Investigations Miles Edgeworth. I really liked this one. So, okay, I'm also playing the second one, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I'm going to say hot take. This game is completely unfairly maligned. And like I see people popping it on like as like the worst game in the Ace Attorney series, and I'm like, fuck right off. Like, no way is this the worst game in the series. It is cohesive, has a united theme. All the cases relate to each other. Like I love Ace Attorney, but there are many Ace Attorney games where you play a case that you're like, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything. And this is just like, hey, let's go to the circus, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, or like Steel Samurai's back, woo, like, you know what I mean? Like there's just a bunch of missions like that. But in this one, no, they're all there. Now, is it a little, like, I think the issue with this game is more in the line of pacing. And it's something that the second game actually fixes kind of retroactively. That this game kind of has a little bit of an issue with, because in the second game they introduce a gameplay mechanic that is really fun and interesting that they didn't have for this one. And I think if they had it for this one, it's logic chess, which I'll talk about a bit later. But if they had it for this one, I think this game would have probably been much better. As it stands, I'd give it kind of like an 8. I think the last mission does certainly drag a little bit, but the thing is, everything in this game is setting itself up for the second game. And this game kind of walks so the second game can run. And I was talking with Paula about this, but I really feel that these two games are almost identical to the Great Ace Attorney games in terms of their quality, where that first game is introducing something to you. It's introducing the characters, the world, the kind of concepts, and like a larger story. And then the second game just is like, all right, we introduced everything. Let's fucking go. Just like boom, 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 the whole thing. But you can't do that in the second game without setting up this first game, right? Like you just can't. I really don't think this second game, because the second game has a lot building off of that first, like so much building off of the first game. In fact, it starts 2 weeks after the first game. Like it's like, boom, here we go. So yeah, I think I personally really loved it. I think if you like the Ace Attorney series, you'll love it. It's very different, I would say, from the Ace Attorney games in the sense that it's, and also it makes Miles like a person. And I love it because you can sort of tell like this game couldn't happen without the original trilogy, because Miles is a changed person really in these games. And he's starting to struggle with the question of like, what is the role of the prosecutor? And he's struggling. And as he gets to the end of this, he's doing these investigations, but you can kind of tell that he's like a little unsure of where his role is in all of this. And so I think it's really interesting because the prosecutors are really always just seen as these kind of villainous folks. But at the end of the day, they're also, investigating and like technically they're, proving people who are guilty at times, right? Like you're just playing as Phoenix when he's, defending innocent people. Which Great Ace Attorney really plays with that very well, which I love. Anyway, still love those games so much, so good. But this one is playing with the idea of like, well, you're finding the actual criminal in this. I also, sometimes I'm always like, I feel like the games feel as if they're a little naive sometimes, right? Like the idea of like there are criminals, I think. But I actually feel more like these games are hopeful, where like they have this real sense of like, hey, like if an individual follows a moral set of ethics and considers their position in the world, they can do good. And I'm like, that's a nice message, like ultimately that's like really what goes on in these. So anyway, recommend Ace Attorney's Investigations. I would say set your expectations. Know that it's not necessarily the greatest, but it's also not very long. The second game seems to be quite a bit longer than the first one. So I breezed through it pretty quickly. I mean, it's technically like 20 hours, but like it doesn't feel that long because you're doing 5 cases, right? You're reading a novel basically while playing. And so I really liked it. Because you played this. What do you think, Paula? Does that seem like an accurate assessment?
Yeah, it does. And I was a little bit worried when you were entering the final case because I know that's where most of the memes come from.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I haven't sent you the video yet, but yeah, I have to send you that video of Miles is on fire. Or just look it up on YouTube. Miles is on fire, part 1 and part 2. And yeah, I'm pretty happy you like it, and I'm pretty happy you're up for the second game because yeah, this game just sets up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That will make a lot more sense once you play that second game.
Yeah, and like I knew that going in too. So I also I think I understand, or I would say I would understand how people felt about this game if they played it when it released and there was no news of the second game coming, right? Like that to me, I understand, If you only ever got to play the first one, then yeah, I get it. And yeah, I'll admit the last case, it's not the strongest case. There are moments where, and I think the problem with the last case is that you kind of figure it out fairly quickly. At least I did. Like I was like, oh, I know what happened. And then it's like, all right, I just want to prove it happened. Let's go. But anyway, I didn't mind. I was like, let's get to the second one. So yeah. Anyway, I super recommend to people. The next game that I played, this is a bit of a naughty game. I played a game called Lust from Beyond. So yeah, you know this one, huh?
I've seen trailers for this one. Yeah, it kind of dropped off my radar. I forgot about it.
It's not actually as intense as maybe people try to talk it up to be. Like it's a horror game. Like it is what it is. It's a, it's semi-walking sim horror game. But I didn't actually know I owned this game. So like I was like, well, because here's the thing. I used to get some of the Humble bundles back in the day for certain things. Actually, I don't even know if this is in a Humble bundle. I don't know what this was fucking in. But all I know is it was in my Steam library, because like I was going through my Steam library because I've been on a bit of a Lovecraft kick lately.
Okay.
Yeah, and so because I what was it? Love, Death, and Robots. In the newest season, there is a 100% Lovecraft
Great
inspired
series.
episode.
Yeah.
Have you watched the new season yet?
I'm watching the first season as we speak.
Oh, dude.
I'm way behind on it, but I love it. I'm going to get there soon.
Oh, you will. They're so quick. You can get through them in a day. Anyway, there's a really good Lovecraft-inspired episode in the third. And I was like, Lovecraft is like the one like kind of horror genre that I feel like I really just don't have any like knowledge of. So I've been listening to this really fantastic, I think it's Horror Babble, Horror Babble did this Ultimate Lovecraft collection. It's like a fucking 40-hour audiobook of all of Lovecraft's stories. And so I'm currently in the Cthulhu cycle right now, and I'm like listening at the Mountains of Madness. So I've listened to a bunch of them at this point, and I started watching a bunch of movies. I watched John Carpenter's one there. Oh shit, In the Mouth of Madness. I think that was it. Yeah. Was that it? I don't remember. Anyway, which it's like Lovecraftian inspired. Then there's Color Out of Space with Nick Cage recently that is absurd. But the thing with Lovecraft kind of horror is that it's all about cosmic horror, right? Like this idea that there are beings out there that are so much more phenomenal than us that like even to witness them is to break one's mind, essentially, right? And like and then there's the elder gods and all this too, right? And what I love about the stories, now some of the stories obviously just writing at a different time, so it could be a little at times, but actually not too bad, I have to say. Overall, the idea is that they're like usually like writings of someone talking about like this thing they researched and they found this thing, and often the Necronomicon is a part of it, right? And like, so I'm loving it a lot. And this game in particular is super, super Lovecraft inspired and does so very well. And for those who don't know, it's like essentially about it's a series. I haven't played the first one, but because I heard it's fine. But I was like, this one looks better. And it's kind of about these cultists who are like searching for this place called Luska, which is essentially this realm of lust where it's like ruled over by this, I would argue basically like an elder god who turned this land into a land where all the inhabitants feel is lust. It's just a place of pure eternal lust. Which actually kind of sounds like hell. As you play through the game, you learn, that is. But it's basically like this sex cult. And it's full on explicit in this game, like very much so. But it's also not that often or anything. And most of the time it is very not nice. Like it's just really fucked up. Like there's stuff where I was like, oh, okay, I want to go away now. But thematically it works nicely because like, I don't know. I haven't actually played this game, but I heard of the game Agony, which I think was trying to be just like fucked up weird. And apparently it's just kind of a shit game that's trying to be edgy from what I understand. Yeah.
Agony was supposed to be very bad. Yeah. A similar kind of vibe where it was like supposed to be a bit dirty. Yeah.
But in this one, the concept of like lust and like this sex cult, like it actually is serving a story purpose. Like it's there because that's what this story is about. And you're playing this character who like has these dreams. And so this is the Lovecraft stuff, right? A lot of the times in Lovecraft, dreaming is a big way of like engaging with these other worlds. And so your character at the very beginning, like he dreams of Luska and he's like in this place, but it like makes him, sometimes lash out or like, so he's like sent to this town, Bleakmore, I think it is, where you're going to meet this doctor, and then things get weird because you're there on the solstice and there's a festival going on, and it turns out it's sexy and violent. So
classic.
Yeah. And so I don't know, I loved it because like the ending I got, like look, this is a Lovecraftian inspired thing. If you're hoping for ooh, yay, happy endings, you're misplacing your faith. You know? And that's what I love.
There's a lot of shaking of the head there.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil anything for you. But like basically this game, to me, I felt like sticks the ending pretty well. Although the endings, so there are minor things you can do to kind of slightly change how the endings work. But the endings are mostly just kind of text. So it just kind of tells you what happens to some characters and stuff, which I didn't really care. I was like, whatever. It gave me a couple decent choices to make, but overall, I just enjoyed solving the puzzles as you go around, finding out what was going on in this story. I actually thought it was a quite coherent tale. Like it's very much a tale of connecting with these kind of elder gods and this kind of mission. And I think it actually is quite like narratively cohesive, which I've heard the earlier games in this one aren't. There is an M-rated version of this, actually. So if you're like kind of interested in this game, but you're like, I don't know about the kind of explicit sexual stuff, there's one that I think is more toned down that you can do. So I would say everybody give it a shot. It's if you like horror, like caveat here. If you love horror, you love Lovecraft, and sexuality doesn't completely freak you out entirely, then go on in there. The character models are kind of rough though at times, I'll be honest. Like I was like, this game ain't sexy. It's definitely sexual. It ain't sexy. And purposefully so at many points, right? So yeah, I don't know. There it is. I was talking to Cock about this one, of course.
That tracks.
That tracks, right? Yeah. It actually was very funny. Matt was like, I just get a message as I was like booting it up, and he was like, "Someone's naughty today." I was like, "God damn it!" Which I thought was very funny. I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And he wanted to know how it was. So there.
Steve is a snitch.
Yeah, Steve's a snitch, right? Well, yeah, this one I don't know. Everybody's got their thing, right? But anyway, it's good times. But again, it's not sexy. So don't if like. I just feel like I have to warn people that if you're going into this game thinking you're playing a sex game, that is not what you're doing. You're playing a horror game, all right? That's what this game is. It is a horror game with sexual elements. Do not go into this thinking that it's something else.
There are lots of ways to get your fix that don't involve
this.
Games. So,
exactly.
You don't need to do that.
Right? Sorry, this is a tangent, but like again, if people are into playing games for that kind of thing, that's fine. But I've always sort of wondered, because like games are like, they're very consuming. You gotta do a lot, you know? Like it's a lot of work if that's what you're looking for. I'm just saying. Like,
yeah, you've got the sense of pride and accomplishment, Alex. That's what it is.
There you go.
I'll be honest, my brain's still whirring like Lovecraft, Cthulhu, tentacles, porn. Like I'm trying to construct a joke in my head, but it's not quite happening.
I don't think there's any tentacles in this game. Not that I know.
Wow, there you are. One more point against it.
Yeah, sorry. There you go. One thing. It's like a 7.5 for me. It did have some.
Let's move on.
Let's slither on.
Oh, stop it.
There you go.
Wow.
All right.
Just as this episode is going downhill, the one game I retired, and the one game any of us retired this week, is Lonely Mountains Downhill for the PC. Quite a good game, just not my vibe right now. It's a very sort of chilled out, like cycle down the mountain. There are challenges, but it's okay. Just enjoy yourself kind of thing. And I think it's pretty cool. I have my issues with it, but I'm going to come back and play it at some point. It's not my vibe right now. It wasn't really clicking with me. And I only really tried it because I'd set aside some time to play Carrion. Because it was leaving Game Pass. By the time I got to it, it had left Game Pass. Much sad. Bugbear with Game Pass, they don't always tell you exactly when the thing's leaving. So it said leaving soon, but it didn't tell me a date. And literally this morning, set some time aside to play it, and no. And I already had Game Pass open, so I was like, what else can I play?
Pro tip, they leave on the 15th every month. Yeah.
Oh, well. It's done now. It'll be on sale at some point on Steam. I'll pick it up eventually. It's not a big deal. But yeah, Lonely Mountains Downhill. Good game. Bad time for me, personally. Yeah. Paula, you've had nothing to do yet. Tell us what you're playing.
Okay, I haven't been playing Hashikimi of the Old Town. That is a while lie, so let me take that out of the agenda very quick. But I've been playing Hollow Knight, which, by the way, I finally figured out how to platform my way out of where I was trapped. So,
brilliant.
But now I'm having a boss problem because holy fuck, that magic wizard thingy that floats around and throws balls at you. Not the smaller ones. The smaller ones are fine. The big one. I don't know how many times I died to that thing at this point. And I hopefully I'll get the hang of it and get past it, because holy Jesus, that boss fight is hard as balls. So yeah, that's it with Hollow Knight. Very fun. I really love this game, and each time I enter a new zone, everything is so beautiful. Like, and between the music and how everything is thrown out, it is just wonderful. So that is really my cup of tea. Another of the games that I've been playing is Valkyria Chronicles, because after my Three Houses adventures, I really needed my fix on a good strategy game. So
Shots
there's
fired.
that. Sorry, I couldn't. I had to.
I mean, I agree with you, though. I personally love Valkyria Chronicles probably more than Three Houses.
See? The man here gives me the reason. So, I'm currently on chapter 4. I already went through assembling my squad. And I've forgotten how you have to make sure like everyone gets along with each other when you build up your squad, because okay, there's racism in this game. Like, there are characters that won't like Darksen, that is one of the, I guess, races of this world, and they really don't like them. And I'm like, yep, you go out, get out of here. I only get people that can get along with others on my squad, because like, I don't know, like I basically, actually, I also pay like not so much attention to what lineage like the character is, that I'm so afraid that I'm gonna like put a character like near to someone they don't like be it like by the weapon they use or like whatever, that I don't know, if it has the hater on the characteristics, you're out. Yeah, I'm not gonna have enough time to actually care about you enough to like
actually use you. Yeah, it's
exactly.
a really blunt like analogy for like Jews in World War II, isn't it? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's anti-Semitism
like,
for sure.
I mean, it's as on the nose as it is, at least in 2, which is the one I've played. It's really, really well handled. But I do remember reading that it's a little bit more complicated to like move around those things in 1. In 2, it's like mechanically much more of a if these 2 people get along, you'll get a buff, rather than debuffs if people hate each other when they're around each other. But I suppose that does give you a bit more of a compelling setup in terms of tactics, and as you say, assembling your squad is maybe a bit more important. Remind me, because I feel like they were new to. Do you have the shield-bearing like engineers in the first game as a character class? Okay. Is it the lancers that you don't have? Are they the one that's new to 2?
No, we have engineers, lancers. What's the guy with the mechanical gun?
Shock troopers.
Shock troopers, scouts, and snipers. And the tank.
Oh, that's it. Right. So snipers in the sequel aren't their own individual class. They're a subclass that scouts grow into. That's where I'm getting confused. Right. Okay. Yeah, I knew there was like a relatively fundamental character class change from 1 to 2. So you have the 5 distinct classes in 1. In 2, sniper ceases to become its own specific thing.
Fuck.
Sorry.
This makes me want to play the games again.
Oh, they're so good. I have 1 sat on my shelf, like the PS4 remaster, and then 3 is supposedly excellent, if a bit overlong, and then 4 is supposed to be quite good as well.
It's very good.
I think it sold well as well, and Sega were like, cool, we're not going to make another one of those then.
Well, yeah, that series is fascinating with what they've done to it many times, and like the games I've always think have been fine. It's just they're like, hey, let's take a game that we had on a console, and let's just throw it on the PlayStation.
That's a lie. They killed it because they made that Valkyria Revolution thing that sucked ass and sold accordingly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, massive tangent, Paula, as you were.
Okay, it's okay. So where was I? Oh, so yeah. And I also noticed that I have to take care of the people that has like a pollen allergy and stuff like that, or desert allergy. So it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a lot more time consuming than I thought. But in the end of the day, it makes the game like different enough. Besides having like these third-person shooter sections where you move your units, which by the way, that is a lot of fun. I really like that system.
I agree.
And it's still kind of turn-based, so I just have to make sure that my character doesn't become a Swiss cheese or something like that. But I can take my time while on a relatively safe zone, which is nice. And I've unlocked skirmishes. And what else? What else have I done? Where are my notes? Yeah, pretty much that. I'm on my first skirmish. So oh, and the other thing that I love about this game is that you don't have to level up your characters like individually. I like how the guy that trains everyone is like, there are no stars here. There's no special snowflakes. Like everyone does the job equally. No one is a hero, and everyone levels up equally. And I really like that because I don't have to like worry if one of my units gets like later into the game and I know, for example, oh, maybe that's a good unit, but a so low level. No, everyone is the same level, or everyone in each class is the same level. I really like that, and because I can rotate if I really want, like, maybe and I can both rotate like the people that I have on each battle and rotate the people that I have on my squad without worrying about a thing, which is really nice. So yeah, I love this game. I haven't gotten to the point where I was when I was playing it back on my PS4, but still I realized I didn't remember jack shit about the game until I started playing it again. So not a big deal. I also made big progress on the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. And yeah, like I really didn't remember like how fucking long the second case was. I'm like 7 hours in and I just finished the second case and it's still a lot of fun even in a replay, so that makes me happy. And I really wanted to play this one before jumping to the other one because I don't know, I have the memory of a goldfish, and I'm probably not gonna remember like every single detail between both games if I don't replay the first one. I say I have the memory of the goldfish, but I don't know. As the Zelda timeline stuff, and I know it by heart.
You have a selective
finally,
memory.
yeah, it's more of a selective memory rather than having a bad memory.
Honestly, I cannot wait. Oh yeah, sorry.
You go ahead.
I was just gonna say I cannot wait until you play the second game in this series. Like, God, I've wanted to talk about it for a while.
Don't worry.
It's
Once I
good.
start playing it, it's gonna become like the secret files again on the chat because I'm gonna be like spoiling everything, but having
Do
like the
it.
spoiler thing on Discord.
Absolutely, and I'll be there for it. It'll take your life over for a little while when you play it. It's so good.
I'm really looking forward to it. And finally, I got a nostalgia hit, like real bad. I really wanted to play some Warcraft 3 Classic. I don't have Reforged, I just have Classic. And I went into one of 1 versus 1 match against a computer because I was like, I'm rusty as all hell. And I won. So that made me feel good. And I really want to replay the campaign because I remember I finished the campaign for the first game, that is Reign of Chaos. But I don't think I ever finished the Frozen Throne campaign. And I'm pretty sure I cheated on the first campaign when I was a kid and used like the resources code to get it out of a tricky situation. So I really want to beat the campaign of this game like fair and square, because it's like, I am a big girl now, I can do this. And I guess my honor as a gamer is on the line, so I really want to beat both the Reign of Chaos campaign without cheats and the Frozen Throne campaign without cheats, which I remember they were pretty fun. Maybe that's me with rose-tinted lenses, but I really love this game. And even better without the Reforge, because I've seen that they butcher some of the cutscenes and the voice acting in the Reforge version.
Butchered some of the everything by the looks of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I have the option to play Classic, I play Classic. And that's all from me right now. I see another Ace Attorney game over there, so Alex, take it away.
Yeah, I'm playing Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Actually, I don't think I think it's just Prosecutor's Path. Technically, it's neither of those, but
Prosecutor's Boogaloo.
But yeah, Miles Edgeworth, Prosecutor Boogaloo time. So this is a fan translation that there is zero way to know it is a fan translation, because frankly, it seems like it is just a localization. Like, it is very, very, very well done. I genuinely, like, honest to God, if you just get this wrong, you will think it is just the official release of this game. It's that good. And to the point where they keep the quirks from the series, because the series does this thing where it's like, it was the early 2000s, it was Nintendo, it was the DS. Any reference to wine is grape juice, right? So they kind of poke fun of that a little bit in this game, which is pretty cute. Like, they'll talk about a few times, like, oh, you spilled grape juice or something. Like, because it's kind of an in-joke now that, like, whenever they want to say, because they just can't say that it's wine, they're like, he was drinking grape juice kind of deal, which I just think is very funny. And they keep that in there, which I kind of thought was actually fairly endearing. And they maintain the whole, like, this is America kind of thing, right? Like, they keep it in the same tradition. Instead of just changing, and just translating the text, it's like, no, they localized it in the way that the teams would have done. So fucking hats off to them. Like, absolutely incredible work. And good thing they did it, because this fucking game is dope. And holy shit, it goes hard real quick. And they bring back characters that I'm like, yeah, what happened to that person? Yeah, oh yeah. Like, in the very first case, there's a character that you're like, oh, right. That is a person who was, like, big, and I always was a loose end, and I was like, just never heard from that character again, and now here they are. And actually, there's a lot of characters that show up. Were you gonna say?
I guess you also saw it.
I saw it. Yes, I did saw.
You saw it,
which is amazing. That cameo to me, I was like, this is amazing. Put it this way: you get to go to a prison, and so you get to see some defendants from earlier cases at one point, or at least a particular defendant, which I was like, oh, that's amazing. So that's super good. They introduced logic chess into it, which is like this game where essentially you don't use evidence, but the idea is that you're using your logic to kind of defeat an opponent and, like, break down their lies, essentially. And you're watching their, like, body movements to, like, you have to wait to see when to press a point. And you get, like, options to choose, but then also sometimes you have to just check, because sometimes people have really good poker faces and they're not going to show any sign that they're, like, lying. And so you have to actually listen to, what are they saying? Are they tripping up at any point? Are there any tics that they have? Like, what's going on? And then they'll give you these options and you have to choose the right ones, but you also sometimes you're on the right path, but you don't have enough clues yet. So you have to go back within the chess and, like, find the right, the right things to go through. It's really, really, really cool. And it's quite intense because it turns into this, like, and I guess this is why I think maybe this game is a bit better than the first one, is that the first one, again, there's the pacing issue of where sometimes you knew it was an important thing, but it didn't feel like there was this big sense of urgency. But the logic chest turns into this kind of like, this sort of intense, like there's a timer too. So you're like, you have to make your selections quickly. And so it actually increases the tension, and it inserts this kind of sense of urgency within the cases that I think is really welcomed. And so I'm finding that the pacing feels more, it just feels more assured in this one. And like I said, like right from the get-go, it starts off with like an event that is directly connected to the first game and is pretty awesome. And the first case is like great. And then the second case bleeds directly from the first case. And I'm in the second case right now, and I'm loving it so far. And yeah, in fact, it gets to a point where like there's like questions about what's going on with there's like this prosecutor, the PIC or whatever. It's like this committee of prosecutors, and there's like Edgeworth is kind of bucking up against these prosecutors a lot, and he's like, he's meeting people from his past, and there's like a lot of this like he's very much questioning and being questioned on like what his role is in all of this, and it's really compelling, and it's very good, and the music again is just. And so, yeah, like honestly, they're really good. And like, yeah, there's no courtrooms, but man, there's still that intensity in the testimonies and in like picking apart people's things and in the investigations, and like, it's just awesome. So very glad that I'm finally getting to this. Kind of amazed I have not played this game before, to be honest. This is the last Ace Attorney game. After this, I played every single one. And I'm glad this is the last one, because I feel like I'm going out on a high right now. Because like, some Ace Attorney games, a little hit or miss here and there, I love them. I love all of them. If I had to rank them, it would be kind of arbitrary, because I kind of see them as a series as a whole more than like, their individual games. But yeah, if they don't release these games as a motherfucking, like, just find who the fan translators are and just pay them. Just give them money and just take their fan translation and just fucking put this shit. Because look, Capcom's good with this shit. They talk with people and stuff. Like, they're actually pretty decent with like fan stuff. Like, they've worked with people before. So just work with them. Put this motherfucking shit as a duology thing. Slap that motherfucker on the Switch and print money, because this shit is good. And like, Great Ace Attorney has done really well. And if you market these as a dual thing in North America, they're going to do awesome. Forget about fucking Japan, whatever. They've already sold them there, like, just like, really, it's the North American and European market is where it's at for these games,
Just give them to us, please.
Yeah, just do it. I'll buy them again. I don't give a shit. I won't play them on the Switch, but I'll buy it. I'll give you the money just to give me more Ace Attorney. I just want more Ace Attorney. Or at least more games by these creative teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, just give me more of this stuff. Give me more spin-offs, in fact. Give me more Miles Edgeworth. Fuck, I don't care. Like, that's what I want.
Just anything. I need my fix, man.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, give it to me.
I just need one more hit.
Just a little more, man.
One case.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me another turnabout, man. Anyway, I love it. I'll talk a little bit about Timespinner, actually.
Great game.
Yeah, you've played this. Okay, I thought you played this.
I played it on Vita, the superior platform.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's amazing on the Switch.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty short from what I know. I think I'm almost done, actually. Like, I'm like 3.5 hours in or something like that. 3 hours or something. I don't know.
It's on the short side even for that kind of Metroidvania. Yeah.
And I would
depends
argue,
how much of the side questing you do. Depends on that.
Yeah, I'm certainly not doing much of that. Like, they give me quests and I'm like, if I pick it up as I'm going along, sure. You know what I mean?
Genuinely kind of worth doing for some of the stuff that comes out of it later, some of the story beats.
Yeah.
As well, in my view, but it depends.
That's fair. I'll be honest, I'm kind of glossing over the story a fair bit. It is interesting. I think this time is interesting. It's just, it's not what I'm here for. You know what I mean? Kudos to them for creating a compelling story, but also, I don't give a fuck about your logs. Like, there's so many long fucking log entries. I'm like, bruh.
Yeah.
I play my Ace Attorney games to read. I play this to have some Castlevania action. But it's
I was
there.
elected to lead, not to read.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good. I wouldn't even say it's a Metroidvania. This is just a Castlevania. This game is Castlevania.
There's enough backtracking that it kind of does.
No, but there's backtracking in Castlevania games.
Right, but that's where Metroidvania comes from. Like, if it's Castlevania in the sense of like Super Castlevania 4, where you're just moving linearly, sure. But there's enough backtracking and using abilities to get to new areas. It's Metroidvania.
I guess, but I say Symphony. It's a Symphony
the
of the Night.
Theme is more Castlevania, sure.
Yeah, because Symphony of the Night though is like the one that I think of, where like you need like items and stuff to go through, and I don't really feel like that was purposely taken from Metroid. I don't know, whatever. I always thought the idea was combining the two, like anyway, whatever, the light RPG elements and stuff. But basically, it's Symphony of the Night is what this game is, and the GBA
right down to the familiars and all the other bits and the bobs. Yeah,
exactly. It is Symphony of the Night. That's just why I'm like Metroidvania. Okay, as much as Symphony of the Night is a Metroidvania, is this game, and I love that though because I want more of these types too. You know, like I think sometimes in the Metroidvanias we get more of the Metroid, less of the Vania, and in this one I'm like, yeah, give me that shit, and it's really good, and it's short and fun and sweet, and I like it a lot. It's very fun. It's simple to play. So well worth trying out. This is one of those ones, like I know we've talked about a lot too, Rick, how like there are so many of them out there that sometimes it's like, oh, you know, why play one if there's better ones? But this one is so short and sweet that it's kind of like, why not? Honestly.
I think it nudges up on quality as well, just enough into the recommend pile.
I agree. So far, I really like it. I'll probably have it done by next week. And also, playing Neon White. Fuck yeah. Speed running the game.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It is just speed running the game. They made a game about speed running. Like, why has this not been done before? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like such a great idea. And I'm like, oh my God, because fuck. So, like, but I will say, I'm really glad they have a friends leaderboard, because when you go over to the global leaderboard, it's depressing.
Scary.
Yeah, it's so frightening. Like, holy shit, man. Like, I looked up one video, because I remember I got a time on a game, on a level that I was like, that was a sick time. And I was like, I wonder. And so I like looked up and I was like, I can never do that. It's just like,
is that the 110 when you were telling me about, where he like goes around the side of the bridge and does some crazy ass jump?
No, I don't.
Because if it is, I tried and failed to replicate that multiple times.
Yeah. Well, no, there was one, it's one where, oh yeah, around the bridge. Yes, yeah. He goes around the bridge.
Because instead of using the jump through the middle, he takes a left and like uses the machine gun bomb.
Yeah, the machine gun bounce. I don't know how the fuck he did that. I tried and I was like, I can't fucking do it. What the fuck? How did they do that? Like, I think I think part of it is like, you can like slash with your sword to get even extra speed up. And like, you can blow up a bomb. You can blow up a bomb before it triggers. So you don't have to wait for it to go boom. If you slash it with a sword, it'll explode you. Yeah, I've used this a couple times. It's hard as shit to get right, but when you do it, it's great.
But there's so many little things like that. Like if you shoot an enemy projectile, you get a very slight speed boost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I know. It's all this shit that's like next level shit that you're like, what the fuck? Like, because basically you can play this game and feel God mode. Like, you're like, I nailed that shit. And then it's like, okay. And then you get your first red medal and it's like, you're not even touching the start of this. Like, you are a Padawan, my dude. And I'm like, no.
Without spoiling anything, wait until the power you get in World 11.
Yeah.
And when you get that power, just take a second to think of all of the things that can be done with said power.
Oh God. Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
I'm ready. Yeah. There's just so much. Like, I think too, what I love about the gift stuff. So like what I've been doing is, I usually do the gifts after I've beaten your time, basically. Because like that's what the meta for this game is that I'm trying to beat Rick's times. But it's also, see, what I love about this, and it's reminding me of what is actually fun about speedrunning, is that like, as fun as it is to beat another person, part of the thrill is beating that other person, because now you know that person has got a fire under their fucking ass to beat you, right? And so what's exciting is seeing like what can be beat. Will they beat it? How are they going to beat it? And then, all right, my turn to try and go up on it again, right? Like, it's such intrinsic motivation, right? Like, it's just right in there. You're like, I want this so bad. I want to beat this. So that's been really fun. Like, there's a couple times that you've had where I was like, how the fuck? And then once I get it, I'm like, yeah! And I've beat a couple where I've beaten you by literally 0.10. I'm like,
Well, literally this morning when I was playing a few of yours, and Paula, you'll have seen this as well. Yeah. I was fighting to beat one of your times. I think it was 110 again. Yeah. And I literally missed it by 0.03 of a second. And then I beat it by like 2/2 of a second.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that is a big thing when speedrunning, right? It's like, if I could just get it a little lower, that's all that matters.
Yeah, where can I optimize? It's so good.
And it's funny because you've mentioned, like, I'm taking, I think, twice as much time as you did to get through the game, because I'm spending a lot more time on the levels. But it's just fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel frustrating. Though there was one level that I was trying to get a gift that was really frustrating. I think it was actually like the first level in Mission 5 once you get the shotgun ability. God damn, man. It's like, there's like 3 bounces and then you have to get up a tower with it. And holy hell, it just was so finicky for me. Like, I would like get it and then it would fall. And I was like fucking killing. I was like,
there are a few gifts where you do feel like you have to choose. For the most part, like, their placement's excellent. Yeah. There are a couple where, I'll be honest, I did have to like go to the IGN guide and see how the fuck am I supposed to make that work.
Yeah, and which is
particularly like later. If I won't spoil that, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure as you get further in there, you're like, there's a couple too where you're just kind of like, where the fuck is it? And then once you find it, you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
But it's that classic thing where the satisfaction of finally getting it. There's one, where when you get the Dominion power without spoiling it or what it is, and there was like a real almost precision, part cheese to get to it. And I saw immediately what I was supposed to do to make it work. But the actual implementation of it, the actual practical doing it, I think I spent 45 minutes getting that one gift.
Fuck.
But the feeling when I got
it,
oh my God.
I'll admit, that was like me too. Like, when I got it, I was like, yes! It's like, goddamn, fuck, yeah! Like, it's like that feeling of just like, you're like, I did it, shit, yeah. It's so good, like, because it's so precise. And man, I'm telling you, when you hit a good run in this game, fucking hell, dude, this shit's like a drug. You're just like, oh yeah. And like the smoothness, and you get that new best, and you're like, fuck yeah. It's just...
And I think it's core, the magic of the game is that with the short levels and with the obscene level of polish, it's a gateway to that mode of play. It's a gateway to speedrunning.
It is.
And I think that's the magic of it.
It really is. Like, I truly think, I'm like, this is the first game that, like, it's just like the whole point of it is to speedrun. And like, it's such a great idea. And like, it really, to me, because like I've been kind of getting a lot more curious about speedrunning, because I'll never, I don't think I'll ever, like, maybe, I don't know, I doubt I'll ever try speedrunning anything else, but I just, 1,000 a day. I really love it, right? Like, and I love watching GDQ. And at this point, it's like, this game finally allows just us average Joes to speed run, you know? And because it's short enough, because like you think of a lot of speed runs are just so fucking long, right? Like, and you need to really master a lot, and like there's this community element to it. And so that's part of actually what I do like even for you, like, you know, there's some points where like I'm happy to be like, here's a little hint on like what I did, because the point too is that like even if you know what to do in a level, doesn't matter. You have to be able to do it. And that's the big thing, right? like I don't even feel like sometimes there's like this, like, I'm not worried about someone saying like, oh, this is how you do it. I'm like, well, whatever. You can tell someone how to do it. You can even show someone how to do it. Doesn't mean you're gonna be able to fucking do it. It's like that fucking level, right? Where you're going around the bridge. I know how to do it. I can't do it. So it's just like,
I can't do it fast anyway. I can't do it the speed that man seems to achieve.
Oh, dude. There's some records that are just incredible. I can't wait to, when I finish the game, go watch some speed runs of the game, because I love it. This is by far
someone beat the whole game in 35 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw there's a devs react of it too.
There is.
I can't wait to watch that. I'm like, fuck yeah, I just gotta wait first. But oh, dude, this is my game of the year for sure. Like, it's just at this point, at the very least, it's just easily the most fun that I've had all year. And I know it's gonna get overlooked at the end of the year by like Elden Ring and stuff. I understand.
Ragnarok as well.
And probably Ragnarok too, yeah. And I get it. Those are ginormous studio games. I get it. But don't give a shit. This is my favorite game. It's so good. I don't give a fuck. Ragnarok will be great, but this is the game I'll remember. Anyway, that's it for me. Rick, why don't you tell us about your games?
Yes, and there are only 3, and to be fair, they're kind of 2.5 because I'm very close to retiring Sifu. It's I can't be arsed. The roguelike structure just fucking killed it for me. If it was a more conventional linear experience, I think I'd be all about it. There is a lot of artistic talent that's gone into this, particularly the museum level 3. It's a joy to behold in terms of the environment and the flow through them. There's so much to like, but I think the combination of the roguelike setup and just the sheer brutality of the requirements for some aspects of the combat. If I had less to play, if I had less going on, and I was willing to put my head down and really, really get it, one, I think it would be a really worthwhile experience. But 2, I think I'd be in a position to finish the game. Even as short as it is, like I'm kind of stuck on level 3. I'm going to give it a couple more goes, I think, and then I'm maybe just going to call it if I can't push through that part. Just not looking forward to playing it, and that's kind of anathema to the whole reason we partake in this hobby. So that's where I'm at on that one. Conversely, I'm very much back into The Witcher. I'm back in the swamp. I'm completing some quests. I can sort of see where the story's going, and I think now that I'm at chapter 3 of, I believe, 5, the whole setup's kind of beginning to accelerate a little bit and pick up pace, which is really cool. I have an idea of where the story's going. New characters are coming through, there's new motivations. The combat's opening up a little bit as well. Now I have access to more abilities and skills. The inventory is still a fucker to deal with, but it's manageable now that I've got a couple of fast travel points and there's a little bit more ease of movement around the environment. Again, hard recommend, but I have had a really good time with it over the 7 or 8 months I've been sort of chipping away at it here and there. And finally, Secret of Mana. I have beaten the first 2 stages. I've got the first 2 sets of magical powers. I'm about 3 hours in overall. This game is flawed, but I can see why it would have been enjoyable at the time. The music, even by modern standards, is phenomenal. And the fact that I can play the original score without the audio channel limitations is one of the big reasons I've opted for the modern quote-unquote remaster remake thing. As I've discussed in previous episodes, 360 movement helps as well. Your AI is still kind of brain dead for your team, and particularly when you first get the 2 extra characters, there is a lot of like micromanaging to keep them safe. Once you get the first set of magic powers, and they've got like magic attack and healing respectively, it's relatively plain sailing from there on out in what I've seen. It's also worth saying there was a point in the first proper dungeon where you're all 3 together that I found a pretty good grind spot, and I ground everyone a few extra levels, and that's really done me well so far. I'm not sure how I feel about this game overall. It feels very meringue, kind of like light on substance, because the ring menu is kind of stylish, but it's more awkward in a lot of respects to actually deal with than just a conventional pause menu, in my view. Mechanics wise, you have an attack. That's kind of it. There's not like an interact with the environment button, like you attack shit. The game. And the story, pretty thin. Graphically, that's the one thing I'm really missing out on with the remake, because it's like PS2 era polygons versus the beautiful pixel art. Now, that beautiful pixel art doesn't play today like it did in the 90s, and that's a real impediment. Even with the remake, like you can tell that it's a bit thin. And I'm having good enough fun with it. It's been a good podcast game. Quite easy to turn off and just have things playing in the background with, or chipping away for 15, 20 minutes on a commute kind of thing. I think I might beat it. I think I'm probably going to keep plugging away at it and finish it. I'm not going to rate it very highly at all, if and when I do. Yeah, it's kind of a shame. I can see the aspects of this game that have made it so beloved and such a touchstone for people looking back on the history of gaming. It doesn't stand up to a modern eye. It really, really doesn't. And I wish they'd put the budget into this that they did into Trials of Mana, because that game was really, really, really good and really well executed in its renewal for a modern age. Like, you could tell they'd cut corners still, but it played and felt like a modern game, and it was much more like what you would expect from a proper, like, full price or close to full price release. This just isn't, as much as I'm having an okay time with it. So, yeah. Like, I think the biggest tragedy is this game is probably excellent if you can get 3 people together and plug through with it as a group.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a redeeming factor of the game per se, because most things are more fun when you do them with friends. But you can kind of... This is another one with, in fairness, a troubled development saga, because it was designed for C, the add-on, and then they had to, like, compact the game down to fit onto a cartridge. And I think that's where the music problems come in, apart from anything else. But also, like, you can tell it was designed around that experience. Even for the remake, the AI is pretty brain dead. You have a limited degree of input into, like, how they'll behave, but limited is very much the key word there. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a fun game, but it's a shame that more wasn't done to renew it and improve it. On that really, really downer note, let's crack on and talk about this week's topic, which, I'll be honest, I saw like an hour before we started. Whose idea was favorite characters and character arcs, and do they want to tag in and sort of give us some background?
I mean, I threw it in here, but I think it was Paula's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I updated it to... So the thing is that since I play a lot of like blood reading games and character driven games, oh my god, I can't speak today, sorry. Since I really like character driven games, or like blood driven games that have like character subplots, I thought this was a very interesting topic, because in games, besides, well, you have the gameplay and the story, and sometimes they don't really connect, but I really like to see, like, as you go through the story, like how the different characters like interact with each other, being like through the gameplay or through just like cinematics or story sections or whatever. And since I am also a D&D player, and usually like I just like role playing in general, I really like to see like where the character starts and where the character ends up after the journey. So, and there's like a couple of instances where a very well made character makes the game, but a really shitty character, like one note character, really like takes some points out of the game for me. So that is why I chose. I did have like a couple of characters when I proposed this topic, but I would also like to hear what you guys think first. So,
well, I was thinking
this is.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I think it might be interesting for us to talk kind of like general terms of what we think, like you mentioned, makes characters interesting, and then we can drop in the ones we like as we go along. Because I was thinking about this too, like as I was going through, I basically like poured through my completed, and I was like, what characters even stand out for me? And it is interesting. Like, I noticed for sure a pattern where it feels like, in particular, there are characters that to me feel interesting. Like from RPGs and whatnot, but also because they're my characters, right? Like, even sometimes you're like I think of Commander Shepard, right, as a character that I really like, where it's like I got to kind of control Shepard, and I like both Shepards. They're both fascinating characters, you know, whether you're Jane or John. And so But then there's also this case of like, yeah, like in games like Phoenix Wright, I love basically everybody in those games, right? But those are specifically almost novels in a lot of ways. And so character gets to be in the forefront. And then I think of Leighton, Sir Brant, even in the recent game that I played, or like, Kiryu, right, in the Yakuza games, because the Yakuza games are basically movies or like TV shows. And so it's like, yeah, in those things I have these strong characters, but then I also think to myself, like, but then you have these mascot characters, right? Like, of course I love Mario and I love Kirby and all them, but are they characters? And that's the thing where I'm like, I don't know. Like, they're entities that I enjoy, but
they're character-shaped vehicles to carry whatever the day requires.
Yeah, right. So
literally in Kirby's case with fucking mouthful mode.
Exactly.
that cursed thing.
Oh yeah, which I love, because then there's personality within that, right? Like, but would I call them a character? No. Like, I would certainly call them fun and endearing. Like, even someone like Samus to me doesn't feel like a character all that much. Like, Samus is Samus, I guess. Like, they try to do that in Other M, I guess, which, well,
baby, babies cry.
Because actually, I think about it even more. Nintendo does not really have a lot of characters. They got a lot of mascots.
I mean, not in the main forefronty stuff.
Yes.
They do have some more towards the back end. I mean, Xenoblade's a Nintendo IP, right? Like, some of those characters. Shut up. I saw that little snigger.
Pyra is ridiculous. I'm sorry. Xenoblade Chronicles.
I'm thinking the original and Shulk. Shulk is quite a strong character. I haven't played the sequel. I want to, but I haven't played it yet.
I personally think the sequel is
I want to play as Titty Blade Girl. It's on the horizon.
Yeah, I don't like the second one at all. I heard this first one's great. I know there are people who love these games, and I can't take that away from you. So it's okay. It's okay. Enjoy that game. I hope the third's really good. The second, I don't know, man. It was weird. Couldn't get into it.
Previews to the third have been like universally really strong. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I don't think it's a. Anyway, it's fine. Move on. This doesn't matter. This is a Xenoblade Chronicles discussion. Yeah.
I do want to jump on to what you said about like things basically being a movie and basically being a novel and stuff like that. I think for me, the interesting thing is what makes a video game character interesting. And I think for me, the baseline is always going to be Sissel from Ghost Trick.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a character who is amnesiac, but not in a tropey way. There's a sense of discovery alongside that character. There's also like an integration of the gameplay and the narrative where what you're doing and what he's doing are very intrinsically linked, and there's a degree of discovery alongside those. Like, you are with him moving through a telephone line to overhear a conversation. And you're very active in that process of like picking what goes where and doing all of those things. I also think it's just an incredible story that they tell in that. Everything makes sense in the context of it. It's all built through properly. He's very believably written, which is a feat given the nature of that story. But yeah, for me, a good character is one that feels like they make sense in the game world.
Yeah.
And one that you either discover things alongside or can really, really relate to because of things that are happening to you together in that sense.
I feel like BioWare is the master at this, to be honest. Like, in terms of video game. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what comes next. I cross my fingers. I'm not holding my breath, but I cross my fingers. But KOTOR, like, I mean, Bastila, Darth Revan, HK-47, like, fucking incredible characters. And like, I think of, Mass Effect Garrus, like Thane, Liara, fucking Tali, like all these characters have a place in my heart. Like Rex, like they're so full-fledged people. In Dragon Age Inquisition too, like even the first Dragon Age, like those characters, Iron Bull, love that dude. Like these characters stick with you, and like they just have a really and those games are also not TV shows, right? They're very expressly games. And that's something that I really love about them, is that they're able to put forth character through these dialogue interactions that just feel very, I guess, too Telltale, but that might be a little different area too. That's kind of the movie stuff. Anyway, I don't know. Paula, what do you think?
For me, a character is interesting when one, it is believable, like Rick said, but also if you have, for example, Rick talk about mainly like the main character of the game. But for example, when you have secondary characters, I really like when the secondary character's life doesn't really revolve around like whatever is happening like in the world, or when they're like properly affected by what is going on around them. So for me, like one such character would be Dojima from Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, which by the way has to be like one of my favorite characters because he not only has like his own character arc that is not only his social link, but also he goes through stuff with the main story of the game.
And you bump into him doing his own thing in and around what you're doing. Yeah, that's a really good shout, actually. Yeah.
And he's doing his own thing, and well, Nanako is doing her own thing too. But for me, the star of the game is Tojima because like he's always doing something there. And also he's kind of like a cool paternal figure in my opinion. Like he's like at the start of the game, he's like, "Oh yeah, you're my nephew. I'm your uncle. Yeah, I should take care of you." But at the end of the game, it also like there's not only a bond like forming there, but also there's trust and there's like this like true like it feels like family. I don't know if I can say it in any other way.
Feels authentic, yeah.
Yeah, it feels very authentic in my opinion. And to a lesser degree, oh my god, I'm gonna get my ass kicked if I don't remember the name of this one character because it is literally the only character, not the only character, but probably my favorite character from Persona 5, and that is. The bar wasn't like really low, but they're like so there is like a great amount of characters from that game that I like. So if I don't remember this one, I'm gonna be so sad.
Which one? Describe them.
It's the owner of the cafe where the main character stays during the game.
Basically, Persona 5's Dojima. I know who you mean. I don't know his name.
Yeah. I think
You're
he's the
muted,
hero
Alex.
patron.
Oh, whoops. I was like, I don't remember either. Doesn't he like wear a blue shirt or something at some point?
I mean, maybe. I remember him being a dick at the beginning. You've got to remember, I played the tutorial dungeon of Persona 5 Royal and then promptly moved on to other things. Like, I desperately need to go back and play that game again. Because I loved the 9 hours I spent doing the tutorial dungeon. But, like, there's a whole game still to play.
It's like 100 hours.
It's Sojiro Sakura.
Of course it's Sojiro, yeah.
So yeah, he's another great character. Not as great as Tojima because I am biased as fuck. But yeah.
I want to jump back to World Ends With You now that we've brought that one up because that's got an incredible cast of characters.
True.
Both Neku, the primary character, and God, I'm going to have to look up her name because it escapes me. But your partner in the first week, they both have wonderful arcs and they're both really well written. I think Neku, especially that whole like, fuck the world, like I'm too cool for this shit. But he goes on a really believable journey to like understand why connections are important and the folly of the way he was initially, and it both ties into his own arc and the whole story. So well done, so well done.
It was perfect if you were a teenager when you played that game, you know, like that's like
which I was. Oh, I couldn't have hit me better. I was like 13. I was like peak target demo for that.
Yeah. You know, I think too of games like Paradise Killer, the characters in that game, man, they stick with you. Like they're like, not only is it because I think part of it too is like you know, I don't think we've hit on this yet, but the design of the character is so important, right? Like, they can be the most well-written character ever, but if they don't look good, it can kind of be a moot point at times, you know? Like often that puts so much into it. Like I think of Paradise Killer in particular because the you know, design of all these characters is so striking. despite it being such an odd world. Like you play as Lady Love Dies, which is like, what? Like just a great name, and sticks with you. But then also the writing is so fluid and well done. But I think too, in like Phoenix Wright, like we know those looks, right? Like they've chosen so carefully their animation for those that they really stand out. And I think it's like a nice shorthand for character. But then again, and then, you know, you have the total opposite spectrum where you have hyper realism in something like The Last of Us, which like we all fell in love with Joel and Ellie, right? Like those are characters who just like they stick with us because of their writing, their design, their believability, which again then comes into voice actors. Like there's such a variance in how good characters can be put across, and I do wonder because like I'm always curious to see like, does voice acting help characters all the time? Because sometimes it's great, right? Like in these sort of more cinematic games, but then there are times when I'm like, maybe just reading it is fine, you know?
Yeah, oh my
almost
God,
definitely, yeah.
Because I don't know if you played the overclock version of Devil Survivor Rig, but oh
I
my
haven't played,
God,
no,
the
not yet.
female voices they choose,
Are they bad?
they're bad. Like they're like, okay, so the main female character of the group, which name I already forgot, she's like very good in combat, like, but holy fuck, she's so hateable the moment she opens her mouth. But and I thought that was my least favorite character, but no, the one in the pink suit with blue hair, the voice they give to her ruined the character for me entirely, and I didn't want to see her like at all. So
VA can get done so badly. I mean, Secret of Mana, like, it's notably bad, the voice acting now. And so I just turned the voice to 0 and I just pretended it was text only again. It's been fine.
That's kind of like
you always have that option, right?
Yeah. Well, not always.
Almost always.
Thankfully. That's one thing, like Triangle Strategy, I remember, like I love that game so much. And the voice acting's not bad. It's just you can tell they weren't given much direction. So they're doing their best, but you're just like, they're clearly were just kind of like, here are the lines, go. And they're like, okay. You know, or like, also I haven't had COVID, so they're probably, you know, at home recording. I don't know how they did it, but I'm sure that's part of it. Anyway. So yeah, I think that becomes a big element into it too, right? Getting that strong voice actors. Like when you think about Last of Us, it rides on, what is it? Ashley, what's her?
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. I can't think of a name for the life of me.
Is it Eckstein? I think it is, right? Ashley Eckstein? Yeah, it's Ashley Eckstein. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Because she's the voice of oh wait, am I mixing her up with someone else though? Shit. No, that's the voice of fucking what's her name? Ahsoka.
Oh no, God.
No, that's Ahsoka. Oh. Who's the Last of Us one? Damn it. I think it is an Ashley name though. I'm gonna look it up.
Is Ashley the surname? Is it like Lauren Ashley or something like that?
It is something like that. I feel like I could just be totally wrong, but I'm almost certain Ashley is somewhere in there. Ashley Johnson, is that it?
Be.
Sounds right. Ashley Johnson, yes it is. Haha, there we go. Okay, it wasn't Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley Johnson. Yep.
It was a different blonde-haired Ashley. I don't know if she's blonde-haired. I should check, but I think she is. Anyway, whatever. Her work is great, right? And same with she is blonde-haired. Okay, so anyway, it was a different Ashley. And they're both voice actors. Jeez. All right. Well, can happen to anyone. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything else with this? I kind of feel like I've touched on what I wanted to touch on.
I do want to throw one out, which is the actress who played the titular character in Sambarlo's Telling Lies.
Oh, yeah.
And she did a bloody great job.
Same with the Her Story lady.
That's what I mean, sorry, Her Story. Telling Lies was less good. I mean, the actors in that all did okay, but like Her Story, forgive me, is the one I mean. Oh God, where's her name? His new game comes out soon, actually, Immortality. That's on the horizon. I think it's been delayed till late next month, but yeah. Viva Seyfert is the name of the actress.
Okay.
She does an excellent job in that for a multitude of reasons. And again, lends that whole thing believability. Yeah, I feel like we've kind of rambled around it, but I think we've made some good points in there somewhere.
Paula, what do you got?
I wanted to give another shout out to a Japanese voice actor, which is Paparu Miyano, and he's the voice actor for Okabe Rintaro from Steins Gate, and he does a wonderful job with the character, both in the visual novels and the anime. And I don't know, like the character himself is kind of like deranged, and Paparu Miyano just delivers in such a way that makes like this mad scientist character kind of believable, and like even if the character is wacky as hell, you still I don't know, there's something about his acting that the character becomes both a crazy motherfucker but also kind of endearing, and even when shit hits the fan, like he really hits like all the emotions of this one character, which is crazy. And are we still on the topic of voice actors, or can I like jump around a couple of things that I wanted like to just shout out? Because like, okay, so another character that I love that she doesn't have a voice actor because she's the protagonist of another game is Cardia Beckford from Code Allies, mainly because she's also amnesiac and at the start of the game, and she's kind of like naive and kind of a blank slate, but as the game goes on and she learns more about the world, about the group where this group of very talented people that accompany her on her journey to find her father and find out like who she is really. Like she starts like not only learning about the world but also picking up like things here and there from the other characters, which depending on which route you end up being at is like her final like personality she ends up developing, which I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of interesting of how it is done. And I really love her like in every version of the game because she's like consistent but has a little quirk here and there depending on, I guess, who she spends the most time with. And yeah, and if we touch on the topic of mascot characters, which by the way, like Kirby and Mario are more like mascot. They don't really have a personality. But Link from The Legend of Zelda, I think it depends on the game, but also he stands like in the middle, depending on which
Link's a
iteration
fucking
of the
mascot
is.
character. I'm sorry. Link is not a character. I don't like I see what you're saying because sometimes he kind of has character, but Link always feels like he is in reaction to other people. You know what I mean? Like Zelda's a character.
Yeah, Zelda is a character, but I feel like okay, Link, Wind Waker Link at the very least from what I played, it feels a little bit more of a character because mainly I think it's the expressions. And also that he's like this character that starts like not really a hero, but just a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just a kid.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, he's definitely maybe more of a character than, but I don't know, because Mario emotes and stuff. You know what I mean? But like, he doesn't really go through much of a journey. Like Link does in a way, but Link's journey is always the same: conquer bad guy. You know what I mean? Which is why I do think that there are good characters in the Legend of Zelda games, but Link's so blank slatey. You know? I mean, he doesn't.
Yeah, I think like. In particular, I think Nintendo of America, in particular, wants to keep him like as a blank slate because I think I've said this before, but Link in Breath of the Wild in the Japanese version, actually, the one who writes the Chica slide is himself. Like everything is like kind of like in the first person kind of way, and he even like comments on the world around him, like in the Chica slate. While in the American version, the English version, I don't know if in the other languages they do this, but it's more of it's more like, let's say, Boros. Would you say Boros from Team 1974 is a character, or just
kind of?
It is kind of, but it is like Navi with a little bit more personality, I guess. Not enough to be its own character.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same conceit. I think Burrows is maybe. I know what you're getting at. I'm struggling for how exactly I want to word it as well. Burrows.
What is it? An information character?
Acts in the same way. Yeah. So Burrows does the whole "hey, listen" type thing.
Yeah, they're not characters. They're navies.
It's
they're
like
navigational aids.
It's a computer on your wrist rather than a little fairy thing.
Yeah, those are just that's hey, we found an in-game way to give you info.
I wouldn't say Burrows is a character. I think Navi kind of is a character. Navi's more of a character than Burrows. Burrows is also much more bearable, so swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think Nintendo wants to give their characters for like a vehicle to the gameplay rather than having them to be like their own entity.
Well, there's also, frankly, it's a pretty calculated business move as well. Let's be honest here. If Mario is just fun guy who goes woohoo, you can put him in everything. Doesn't fucking matter. It's Mario. You know what I mean? If Link is just ha ha, then Link just has to go ha ha all the time, and you're good. You know.
I like to imagine the C-suite Nintendo people in meetings doing exactly this kind of thing. Link Desu, ha ha,
ha ha, what? All the time, just good. But again, like Nintendo games are gameplay first, right? Like I truly think that's where they're going with it, and they can still have impactful stories, but ultimately the impact I think is more the story you forge within it, right? Like that to me feels like it's more often the case. Though they've done some good stuff. Like Wind Waker, I absolutely do love, but again, that's more about the people you meet than who you are. It's just that philosophy, right? Of like you're reacting to who you meet. It's kind of like they're kind of like road trip games in a lot of ways, right? Where it's like even Breath of the Wild is like that. Breath of the Wild is a big road trip game where you just go all over the place and meet people and help them and then leave. It's the man with no name. It's the Western thing, you know, like a little bit where it's like this person comes through and vanishes. It's kind of like the ethos. Anyway, whole other thing. I love that though, and there's a place for that I think in all gaming, and they fill that niche very well. Anyway. Oh, sorry. I'm done. Paula, you got some more?
I was just thinking, like, how in the Western side of things, it is more usual or more often that you see that there's a blank slate character as a protagonist. Well, on the Japanese side of things, well, I played like more Japanese than Western, so you can correct me if I'm fucking wrong. But it feels like there's like more defined character even in the blank slate ones, because for example in the Persona games, like the options you get like for responding to other characters are more in line with what the character would do or what the character would say, which by the way, Persona 4 Yuna Urugami, that's a chat if I ever seen one, because the options he gets are like stupid sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a, like, obviously it's hard to quantify because it's kind of a big kind of statement, but I don't think it's entirely accurate, because I do think that it depends on genre in particular. It really depends on genre, right? And like in the West, a lot of role-playing games, there are some where you're blank slatey, but when I think about it, most of them have pretty defined characters. Like, again, thinking about Mass Effect, thinking about Dragon Age, you're playing a very specific individual within those that you can mold and change. I think maybe where this might be a thing that people think of is like Skyrim, right? Where you are very much just a blank slate in that. But you are the Dragonborn, right? So there is that element to it. But yeah, I don't know. I think the blank slate idea is, it actually feels more Japanese to me. Like, it feels Nintendo-y a little bit, you know? Like, that's like, I think you're right that Japan has a lot of great, strong characters. But I think this just depends, right? Like, some people want to take that on as their, you know, modus operandi within this, and then other companies like, no thanks. And it just depends on the genre that you're in. Even a character like Master Chief, who's kind of faceless, still has a ton of dialogue, right? So yeah, I don't know. What do you think, listeners?
Let us know in the comments down below, and hit the like button while you're there. Pretty please, thank you very much.
I was gonna say the mention of the Master Chief gives me like PTSD to the video about the Halo novels.
Oh yeah,
oh god, great. Yeah.
Bless his soul.
And for the people who are foolish enough, PTSD to the TV show.
Yeah, I hear it's fine. You know, this is a point that actually, this is a point that I like watching a lot of peers. I works now for Sony and we've got award stuff. But I was talking a little bit how like it's hard to realize in our world here, but like games are still very niche. Like as big as they are, gaming is still wildly niche.
Particularly the kind of like gaming that we and our community are involved with.
Yeah, like even something like Halo, which is popular, it's not that huge, right? Like it's huge, but do a lot of people actually know what it's about? No. So like I think, and this is actually making me think about the Last of Us remake, because I think she makes a good point that like, frankly, they're trying to get this because like, as much as we all know The Last of Us, when this HBO show comes out, there will be millions upon millions of people who now know about The Last of Us who had no idea before. Now, should it be sold for $70? That's baloney. But
yeah, I was about to say that's bollocks.
Yeah, that part
no game should be charging
stupid.
$70.
Yeah, that to me, I'm like, I'm sure it's lots of work, but fucking stupid that it costs that much. Now, if you bundled it with fucking Last of Us Part 2 as like an $80 release, I'd be like, that's reasonable. But
yeah,
but like $70 on its own, fuck off. Anyway, but again, gaming is still a niche thing in especially the way we play it, right? So. Anyway, that's characters. Damn, we went through a lot. That was a lot. That was a good topic, Paula. There's a lot in there. I'm sure we could fucking talk ages on characters. There's so much to talk about. But why don't we move on from characters and move on to HLTB The Game. It's my turn because last week we just ended a bit early because Paula definitively dunked on Rick and I. So as of listening of this, we'll have posted last week a poll with Paula's 3 game choices, which was Code Realize, Shin Megami Tensei 4, and Age of Empires 4. And so we and you all will have voted on it, and we'll reveal that the first week of August. That's when we'll play Paula's game. So who knows? Will it be Otome? Will it be JRPG? Or will it be... What do you call those? The
real-time strategy.
RTSs, that's it. Thank you. RTSs. Only time will tell. We don't know yet because this is being recorded in the past. All right, which means it's my turn to start off, though. And actually, this is a fitting game. I already got it up here. This is Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Summoner, Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army. For the PS2.
Oh shit, that's the PS2 one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Not the one you are thinking. Alias is Devil Summoner Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army, so just the same thing.
Thing is, I know fuck all about this game.
Yeah, me too.
Beyond being that it exists.
I do remember hearing about the game, but fuck me if I remember anything, because I do have the tendency of watching YouTube videos about some Timespinner games in general. So I do know more than I should about the older ones, especially Jack Bros.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's Google time.
Yeah, while you Google this, I'll give you a little synopsis here. So, Raido Kuzunoha is a private detective in Japan's Taisho period of the 1910s and 1920s. But he's much more than just a well-dressed crime scene investigator. He also has the power to capture and conjure demons to do his bidding. Take control of Raido and his otherworldly companions. Guide them through thrilling episodes of action and intrigue and learn the incredible secrets of the Soulless Army. Ooh, this actually seems kind of interesting. Looks like fucking
Okay,
Rasputin
hence
on the cover
Devil's
here.
Summoner. Yeah.
Neat stuff. Neat.
What's gonna be the bonus question?
Yeah, the bonus question is, when was this game released in Europe? I want the month, date, and
okay. I have a vague idea of what that will be.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just looking at a little bit of footage on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen this one. I don't really know what this is all about.
This game's kind of nuts, eh?
I don't know how well received it is. I feel like this is a mixed one. I feel like also, though, a lot of SMT games are kind of mixed because, again, niche audience.
Hang on. You've both muted for me.
Oh, no.
Sorry. What's...
You go. I didn't really say anything.
Oh, that's all good in that case.
I was just saying, I think SMT games in general... I said this one seems like it's kind of a mixed reception, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna undershoot this or overshoot this because I have the feeling that it's not gonna be like it's Devil Summoner. Are Devil Summoner length as mainline? Oh my god.
Well, Persona are spin-offs, right? This is a spin-off, I would assume, because isn't Shimigami Tensei like that's the main series and the rest are spin-off?
Devil Summoner is absolutely a spin-off, yeah.
You know what? I don't even want to try to figure that shit out. You know, they're all just they're SMT games. All right.
Okay, I think I have my times. I'm going to post them across to you now, Alex.
Perfect. And then again, when was it released in Europe? I want the full month, date, and time. Month, date, and year. I mean, time. What hour was it released? Which I don't know.
I feel I'm undershooting so badly, but I have the feeling that it's not.
You gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah, I know. No.
Come on, I'm gonna start counting down.
What was the release date in Europe, right?
In Europe, yes.
For this PS2 game, okay.
Yeah.
Right, all my stuff's in.
Which is a bit of a hint. Yeah, I've got all of Rick's there. Which is good. Just waiting on you, pal. No pressure. I mean pressure, but no pressure.
A little bit of pressure. Teeny weeny bit of pressure.
I mean, realistically, full pressure.
Month and year or date?
Month, date, and year. I want all of it. That gives more, wiggle room for both of you. Otherwise, it's too easy, If I just said year, it's like, well, fuck. I'm not running a charity here. Okay, here we go. So, I've got the times in here. So, here's what we're going to do now. So, for main story, Paula has said 35 hours, and Rick has said 25 hours. The time is 24 hours.
It's going to be a shorter one, isn't it?
Okay, so main plus extras. Rick has said 35 hours. Paula has said 40 hours. The time is 29 and a half hours.
Okay.
I fucked up so badly.
Paula has said for 100% 80 hours. Rick has said 55 hours. It is 50 and a half hours.
Yeah.
So clean sweep for Rick here. Now this is interesting though. This is interesting. So okay. So for the date, Rick has said EU release is December 8th, 2006. And Paula has said...
I feel like the only reason you'd have asked is if it was like a weird release time.
Not really.
I figured it wasn't a launch title, so it's probably a late game. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Paula has said April 18th, 2008. So, interestingly, Paula is almost spot on, but she's a year late. It is April 27th, 2007. So I'm afraid this is a clean sweep for Rick, putting Rick in a pretty healthy lead to start out.
I'd like to thank the Academy, my parents.
There you go. Yeah, you were close, Paula, just the wrong year. I mean, I don't even know. What were the years for the PlayStation 2?
Well, I mean, the PS3 launched in like 07. And I know that there's a Devil Summoner 2 for this. So that's why I said 06.
Yeah, because I was like, I feel like, I was gonna say I feel like 2008 is pretty late, but 2007 is pretty late too, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the PS2 was 2000, so good guesses on both of your parts. That was good. I like that. Good job.
I wonder when
Paula,
the sequel came out.
You know, Paula, you won the last one, so it's okay. You can take this L for today.
You don't want to have 2 Otome ones in a row. I know.
Yeah.
Oh wow, the sequel looks like it didn't come out in Europe. Came out in Japan October 23rd, 2008.
Oh,
America on the PS2 May 12th, 2009.
But see, the PS2 way outlasted the even like it went into the PS3 lifespan for quite a while.
I know, but for that kind of novel release, holy.
True, yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Another new interesting game. Tune in next week for more of us. And that's it. Toodaloo.
See you, bye.
Bye.